Hey, what's up, Musers? This is John at Muse for You, here to help you build awesome websites without code. And in today's video tutorial, we're going to be creating a photography website from scratch. We're going to be using Adobe Muse and widgets from museforyoushop.com. So here I have the website, so I'll just showcase it real quick. We have a slideshow here at the beginning, and if I click refresh, we have the social media icons that pop in, and I'll scroll down. We have this image here, Professional Photography by Jessica. And I'll scroll down, then we have a gallery, so I'll click, and we have the responsive lightbox gallery here, and that looks good. We can go through all the images, we can go here on the thumbnails and go through all the images, and we have this nice orange color throughout the whole website, which looks nice. And we can make the image full screen, go back, we can zoom in to the image, looks good, zoom out, we can play the slideshow automatically, looks great. And we can download the image if that option is enabled in the widget options. Okay, so there's the gallery. We can go through all the images, and I'll scroll down again here. Here we have a parallax image in the background, and it looks really good. We're using the parallax image background widget for that. And then I'll refresh again because we just saw some animation. But if we scroll, we see that we have these icons, these font awesome icons, and they animate when you reach this part of the website. So here we have instant delivery, artistic touch, professional equipment, and on time. Okay, and here's the contact form with another parallax image in the background. That looks good. And if I scroll, we have some smooth scrolling because we're using the scroll bar widget as well. And then here we're using the responsive side menu widget. So if I click, it brings us to anchor points on the website. And then I have an about page that'll take us to another page. And I just wanted to showcase that you can link this menu to internal pages as well. So I'll go to the home page, looks good. And up here, we're using the full screen slideshow cover as well. And we can go through the images just like that. And we have a logo here. So that's the website. I got a bit inspired from this bootstrap template here. This orange color I really liked, and this idea of icons here I liked as well. So I just got inspired off this idea here, and I decided to create this website in Adobe Muse with museforyoushop.com widgets here. And here I have the website on mobile. The full screen slideshow cover is fully responsive, so I didn't need to add any breakpoints to have that be responsive. We have the gallery here, the responsive lightbox gallery. We can see it's fully responsive. Looks good. Again, I didn't need to add breakpoints for that. I just needed to add breakpoints for the text and to reposition some of the elements on the website. All right, and these images here, this image is fully responsive there. And I had to reposition some of the icons for the mobile breakpoint. And this image here in the background is fully responsive as well. And the responsive side menu is fully responsive as well. And now with the new update to the responsive side menu, the menu closes when you go to the different sections of the menu. And it does link to other pages as well, to internal pages within the website. All right, looks good. So there we have the website. And the Muse Motion 2 does work on mobile as well. So we see these icons animating there. Okay, so as we can see, it looks really good on mobile, and because most of these widgets are already responsive, we don't have to do a lot of work to make this website responsive. So I'm going to move fairly quickly through this video tutorial, and I'll leave a link to all the videos that have more of a in-depth tutorial on each of the widgets, but I'll be creating this website fairly quickly just to showcase how much you can do with the widgets found at museforyoushop.com as well as Adobe Muse. So I'll go ahead and get started. Before I get started, I'll just show you where to access the widgets. You simply go to museforyoushop.com, and then here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The only widget that's not included in the subscription or in the subscription is the Muse Morph SVG morphing widget because it is using the Morph SVG plugin technology from GreenSock. But the good folks at GreenSock have allowed me to offer the widget as an individual widget in the shop. And this is just using a really advanced SVG morphing technology here. I will be coming out with the Muse Morph Lite that will allow for just some basic SVG morphing, but this is the more advanced widget for SVG morphing, and it is using the Morph SVG plugin technology from Greensock. So if you did want to purchase the widgets individually, I'll show in the end of this video tutorial, I'll show all the widgets that I used, but one of the widgets I'll be using is the full screen slideshow cover. And if you did want to purchase the widgets individually, you could click add to cart to purchase individually, or again, you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Okay, so that's where you access the widgets here at museforyoushop.com, and then you click the pop-up and it'll bring you to the widgets here in the shop. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open up Adobe Muse and we'll get started rebuilding the website. Okay, so here in Adobe Muse, I'll go to File, New Site, and I'll click OK. And here we have a blank home page, so I'll double click. And the first thing I'm going to do is bring in the full screen slideshow cover. We have the blank website here. And I'll just go to the library panel. If you don't see the library panel, you can go to Window and click on Library, and that'll bring up the library panel. So here I'll just type in FSC for short for full screen slideshow cover, and I'll bring in the full screen slideshow cover with overlay and image, because I'm going to add an image to the center of the slideshow. So I'll bring in the widget, I'll place it at the top. And before I add any images, I want to prepare all my assets. So here I have a bunch of images that I'll be using for the website. And if we right click on the images, we can get info, and we can see that the images are a bit large. It's 1.7 megabytes, and the size of the image, I've actually resized all of these images to 2048 pixels in width, because if your image is larger than 2048 pixels in width, Adobe Muse automatically resizes it for you. So I've just decided to do it myself manually by going to right click, open with preview on my Mac, and then I go to tools and adjust size, and then I change it to 2048 in the width, and I constrain the proportion so the height changes as well with the width. Okay, so I'll hit cancel here, and then I'll close this. And because the images are fairly large, what I do is I compress them, and I use a website called compressjpeg.com. And then what you do is you drag all of the files. So if I were to drag all of these images, you can just drag them all in here. Or let's try that again. Compressjpeg.com, and then you can just drag the files in there, and it'll compress all the JPEGs so that the file size is a little bit smaller, and it actually tells you how much it compresses it. So this one got compressed by 36%, 46%, and so on. And after it compresses all of them, you can click on download all, and it will download all of the compressed JPEGs, and you can use it for your website. Okay, so I've already done that, and I got the folder here. I've downloaded it after it compressed it. So here are all the images, and we can see that the file size is a bit smaller there. Okay, so all the images are compressed, and I'll be using these images on the website. Okay, so I'll just open the full screen slideshow cover, and I'll add some images. So I'll go to image 1, I'll click on add file, and I'll go to my compressed JPEG folder, and I'll just select some images of photography here. Okay, let's see. So we've selected that one. Let's do this one, and this one here, and one more. And here, let's see. Yep, this one here. So here in the alternative text, you can just write what the image is about, and it's a good search engine optimization practice or SEO practice. And then I want to add an overlay color to the full screen slideshow. So what I'm going to do is open this website here, because I sampled this orange color, and I'll go into the slideshow, or I'll go into the browser fill, and I'll sample this orange color here in the browser fill, and then I'll click the drop down and I'll click add swatch, and I'll click OK. So now this orange color has been added to the swatches panel, and I'll make the browser fill white again, and now I have access to this orange color in the website. So I'll go to let me minimize this. I'll go to the full screen slideshow cover. For the overlay, I'll say this orange here. And that is it. That's all we have to do for the full screen slideshow cover. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we have the full screen slideshow cover, and we have these images. Looks great. So now I want to add a logo here in the center of the slideshow cover. So I'm going to prepare an image. I have this photography icon and I'll open it in the Illustrator. So I'll right click, open with Adobe Illustrator. And here we have the image. So I'm just going to delete, or I'm going to ungroup and delete this here that says photography vector, just like that. And then I'll go to text and I'll add some new text and I'll say photography by Jessica. And then I'll select that and I'll make the color white and I'll change the size to say 36. That looks good. And I'll center it within the artboard just like that. And the spacing looks good. So I'll leave it just like that, maybe up a little bit. Yep, that looks good. And I'll delete this background because we don't need it. And I got this image from freepik.com, so I'll just delete that there at the bottom. And then I'll go to Object, Artboard, Fit to Artwork Bounds, and now we just have the image and the text. So now I'll go to File, Save for Web, and I'll select, or excuse me, I want to save it as an SVG. So I'll go to File, Export, and I'll save it in Images, and I'll say SVG, and I'll say photography logo, and I'll say replace. I think I've already saved it once, and I'll just click OK there. Then I'll go back into Adobe Muse. I'll go into the full screen slideshow cover, and then for select overlay image, I'll click add file, and I'll go into images, and we have the photography logo right here. And if I go to file, preview page in browser, we can see that the logo is really big. So what we want to do is go into the widget and click on enable overlay image size, and I'll make this about 20% in width, or 20% image size. And there we go, we have the logo. It's a bit smaller and it looks good within the website. Okay, so we've completed step 1 of the website, which is adding the full screen slideshow cover. The next step is adding the image with the image of the photographer in a circle over the image. So to create an image, or to add an image, I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a rectangle just like that. And in the resize option, I'm going to click the drop down and say stretch to browser width. And for the height, I'm going to say 350 for the height of this rectangle. Then I'm going to go to fill. I'm going to click add image, and I'm going to go to images, and I'll select this image here. Then I'll say scale to fill, and I'll position it in the center. And that's all we have to do there. And then I'll select the rectangle again. I'll hold down shift to create a square, and I'll create a square that's 150, or we'll say 200 by 200. That might be a little big. Yeah, we'll say 150 by 150, just like that, and we'll center it. Then I'll go to fill, add image, and I'll select the image of this lady here. Okay, then I'll say scale to fill, position it in the center, and that looks good. And now we want to turn this square into a circle, so we'll select the corner radius option right here, and we'll say 100 for the corner radius. So we selected all the corner radius, and I'll set it to 100, and then I'll add a border of 3, and we'll make the border white. So now we have her in the center, and that looks good. And I'll add some text, and I'll say photography, I'll say professional photography by Jessica. Okay, and I'll change the font to Lotto, just like that, and I'll say 24, and we'll say white, just like that. And I'll center this within the text box, and perfect. Okay, and we'll place this right up here at the top, and it looks good. All right, awesome. So we've done that. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll have to add some more scroll space. I'll just add some scroll space here. I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and if I scroll down, we now have this image, and it says photography, professional photography by Jessica. All right, looks good. And I'll bring in the font smoother so that font looks a little bit nicer. So I'll type in font smoother, and I'll bring in the font smoother light, just like that. All right, so the next step is to bring in the responsive lightbox gallery widget. So I'll go into the library panel, I'll type in RLG, and I'll bring in the RLG at first, right in there. And then I'll bring in the RLG with images. Perfect. Okay, and then I'll say for the resize, I'll say stretch to browser width. I'll bring it right in here, and I'll say text align center, and I'll add 12 images. So for the select number of images, I'll say 12, and then I'll add 12 images. All right, so I'll add 12 images here. I'll go to compress JPEG, and I'll just add them in order. And you can add a title and description for the text and alternative text as well to each of the images. So I'll go ahead and add all the images, and I'll kind of fast forward through this part here. Okay, so there we've added 12 images. Here we see in the responsive lightbox gallery, we have 12 images. So now let me just remove some of this widget container space. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I scroll down and I click, we have the images there. We do need to add the icons as well. And one thing, I don't want the responsive lightbox gallery to fit across the entire browser width. So I'll go into thumbnails and I'll say 50% for max width for the thumbnails here. And they'll just be within 50% of the browser by setting it to 50% max width. And then I'll go to File, Add Files for Upload for the icons, and I will add those fonts for the icons in the responsive lightbox gallery. So here in the fonts folder, we have 4 fonts, and this is the zip file for the responsive lightbox gallery. So in the font folder, I'll just select these 4 fonts, click Open. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we go scroll down and we go to the gallery. We can see that it's a bit smaller within the browser, or it doesn't go across the browser width. If I click on the image, we now have the icons and the images. Looks great. So the user can go through the images and view all of the images within the responsive lightbox. Okay, so now I'll go into the widget, and for the lightbox, I want the border color to be orange, just like that. And for the thumbnails, I don't want any border, so I'll just say 0 for the border width, and we don't have any border around the images here. Perfect. And I'll just bring in the container width, or the height of the container, and perfect. All right, so now I want to add some parallax images to the website. So I'll go into my library panel and I'll type in parallax, and here we have the parallax image background widget. So I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website, and this is the add first, and then I'll bring in the parallax image background. Okay, so now that we have the widget, we want to create a rectangle that's kind of a placeholder for this widget. So I'll just add some more scroll space. I'll create a rectangle, and I'll say stretch to browser width, and for the height, I'll say 350 for the height of the rectangle, and I'll just fill it with this orange color here. So now I want to give this rectangle a graphic style name of image1, because in this widget we have the graphic style name image1, so when we add an image, it'll be applied to this rectangle. So I'll click on the rectangle, I'll go to graphic styles, I'll click create a new graphic style with this icon that looks like a piece of paper with a folded corner. I'll double click on style, and I'll say image1. Okay, and then for the widget, I'll click on add file, and I'll go to my images, and I'll select, I'll select this image here. And for the image height, I'll say 350, so it matches that container, this placeholder we have here. And for the speed, I'll say 0, so the image doesn't move within the website. So now I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll scroll down, and we have this parallax image right here. We see the image doesn't move, and we have, it just goes past the image there. All right, so now I want to add a get started text here. So I'll create a rectangle, just like that. I'll fill the rectangle with white. And for the corners, or I want it to be an oval, so I'll just select the corner radius option, and I'll say 100. So now it creates kind of an oval shape here. I'll zoom in. I'll create some text. I'll say get started, and I'll go into my fonts here. I'll say Lotto. I'll say 24, and I'll change the text to orange, and I will center the text, and then center this within the rectangle here. All right, so now we have this getting started button, and then I can link it to something later. And one thing I want to make sure is that that button is visible on top of the parallax image. So if I scroll down, we don't see the button. So we have to go into the image or the parallax image and change the Z index to something lower, to like 5, so that it shows up behind the button. So I'll say File, Preview Page in Browser, scroll down, and now we see the Get Started button. Great, and that text is a little bit too large, so I'll say 18. Perfect. All right, looks good. And I'll make the rectangle a little bit smaller as well. Perfect, so we have Get Started. That looks good. And then we want to add one more parallax image at the bottom, so I'll hit Command C to copy and Command V to paste this rectangle here. I'll bring it down, and then on this rectangle I'll go to graphic styles, I'll create a new graphic style, and I'll call this image 2. And I'll zoom in here, I'll go to the parallax image background, I'll hit Command C to copy and Command V to paste, and then I'll change the graphic style name to image 2, and I'll select a new image. We'll say this photography image right here. And that is it, and I'll add some more scroll space so we can see it just like that. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, I'll scroll down, and there we have this image, and I'm actually going to make it a little bit larger. I'll say 450, and then in the widget I'll say 450 for the image height. Okay, because we're going to put the contact form here and I want it to be a little bit larger. So I'll scroll down, and there it is. So we're going to put the contact form right here. And then let me move everything up, because we see we have quite a bit of space between the gallery and the images here. All right, so we've done that. So now I can add a contact form. So I'll go to Object, Insert Widget, Form, Simple Contact, and I'll place it right in here. And we'll just center the contact form. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, we'll place it right in there, and I'll just style this contact form a little bit. So we'll select the background, we'll make it white. The text in here, we'll say Lotto for the text, and we'll make it white, just like that. And then for the inside here, we'll say Lotto as well, and we'll change the text to orange. Okay, and we don't want it to be italic. All right, so I've just styled the contact form a bit, and we have it right in there. Looks good. Okay, so we have the contact form, or we have the full screen slideshow cover. We have this top image with the photographer. We have the responsive lightbox gallery, and we have the 2 parallax images here. So now what I want to do is add 4 icons that animate as you scroll into the widget, or as you scroll down to this section of the page. So I'm actually going to use icons from Font Awesome. So to get those icons, you simply go to fontawesome.io, and then you click download, and it will download the Font Awesome font, and it'll look like a folder like this, Font Awesome, and it comes with the fonts. So the first thing you want to do is double click on the .otf or .ttf. I usually click on .otf on my Mac, and it installs the Font Awesome icons onto your computer, and you have to install it first on your computer before you can use it in Adobe Muse. After you install it on your computer, you can go to File, Add Remove Web Fonts, and I'll click Get Started, and then I want to add a self-hosted web font, so I'll click Add Fonts, and then we want to drag and drop these 3 files, .woff, .eot, and .svg. So those files are here, .eot, .svg, and .woff. I'll click, hold, and drag right in there. I'll click this here. It says by clicking continue, I affirm I have properly licensed the above fonts for website use. Then I'll click continue, and it will install the font when I click OK. I've already installed it, so I'll just click cancel, and now I have access to the fonts. So to use the fonts, or to use the icons, I'll select the text option, I'll create a text box, and then I'll go to the font here, and I'll go to Font Awesome, and I'll go to glyphs here in my panels. If you don't see the glyphs panel, you can go to Window and click on glyphs. And here I'll just add a few icons. Okay, so I'll add an icon here. So I'll add this plain icon, I'll double click, and I'll say 30, or we'll say 72 for the size, and the color I'll say orange, and I will center this. So I'm gonna get the other icons here for this section, and once I'm done with that, I'll come back to the tutorial. Okay, so I have my 4 icons here, so I'm just going to align them to each other, just like that, and I'll select all of these. I'll say align, and I'll align vertical centers there, and then I'll distribute horizontal centers. And I do want to distribute it to the selection and not the content area, so that it distributes within each other and not relative to the website, but relative to each other. Okay, so there I've added the icons, and then let me zoom in a little bit here, and then I'll add some text below each of these icons. So I'll say instant delivery. I'll paste again, and I'll say artistic touch, and I'll paste again, and I'll say professional. Let me close the glyphs panel here. I'll say professional equipment, just like that, and I'll say on time here, on time. All right, and then I'll just align these, select these, align, just like that, and that looks good. And then I'll distribute the spacing as well. Perfect. Okay, so yep, these are all centered to each other. Line center, yep. Line, or what I can do is group all of these, or align these to the center. Then I'll group it. Okay, and then I'll select all, align, and distribute horizontal centers. Okay, and then I do want to ungroup it just like that, so I can select these elements here. So what I'm going to do now is add an animation, so when we scroll to this section, each of these icons move up within the website or have an interesting animation effect. So I'm going to bring in the Muse Motion 2 widget for this. So I'll select, before I do that, I'm going to assign a graphic style name to each of these icons. So I'll click the first icon, I'll go to graphic styles, and I'll apply the graphic style name Motion 1. Then I'll click on this icon, I'll apply the graphic style name Motion 2. I'll click on this icon, apply the graphic style name Motion 3, this icon, and I'll apply the graphic style name Motion 4. Okay, so now we've assigned the graphic style names so that when we bring in the widget, it'll be really easy to animate all of these. So I'll go into my library panel, and I'll type in MM2 for the Muse Motion 2 widget. I'll bring in the add first right in here, and then I'll bring in the 2D sequence because I'm going to be using 2D transformations for these icons. All right, and here we have the beginning, middle, and end widgets for the sequence. For the beginning, we can leave it like that. I don't want it to repeat, so I'll say 0, and I don't want it to enable reverse play. This first widget controls the instance number, the delay, the repeat delay, and the reverse play for the entire sequence. And then this middle one controls the transformation for the graphic style name Motion 1. So whatever I apply to this widget will be applied to this element here. So for each of these elements, I want it to translate Y. So I want it to come from the bottom to the top, so I'll click translate Y, and then I'll say 100, so it comes in from 100 pixels from the bottom and comes into the top. And that's all I have to do for the widget. So I'll bring the end widget down, and I'll copy this widget 4 times. So just like that, then I'll copy this again and paste. Okay, and then all I'll do is change the graphic style name here. So I'll say Motion 2. For this one, I'll say Motion 3. And then for this one, I'll say Motion 4. Okay, because these are the graphic style names we applied to these icons. And now we want to trigger these icons on scroll, so I'll go to the end widget here, and this controls the triggering of the sequence. So I want it to trigger on scroll, and I want it to trigger once this graphic style name, Motion 1. So once this element reaches a certain place in the browser, I'll say 80%. So once it's 80% from the top of the browser, this element here, it will trigger the sequence, and all of these or the sequence will play, and it'll animate these 4 icons. And I do want it to repeat the sequence on scroll so that each time the user scrolls past this element, we'll see the sequence play. All right, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll scroll down, and there we have it. It's a little bit slow, so I'll go into the end widget, and I'll say timescale, and I'll make it 3 times as fast. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, I'll scroll down, and there we go. We have those icons there, and I could even add a sound effect if I wanted to. So if here in the audio section, I'll click Enable Audio, I'll click Add File, and then I have some nice sounds here. Okay, I could do this camera flash here to kind of go with the theme of the website. So I'll enable audio, let's see, and I'll just add it to all of these widgets. Okay, so I've added the audio to all of the widgets, and I've enabled the audio, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll scroll down, and there we have that nice camera audio with the sequence. All right, and I might just want it to have it play once so the audio doesn't trigger on this on scroll. So when the user scrolls up, the audio won't trigger again. Looks good. So it goes with the theme of the website. We just have some nice audio, and let's do it one more time. Perfect. All right, so that looks good. We've added some audio with the sequence. Okay, so we're almost done with building the website. I'll just add the responsive side menu. So now we're going to work with the master page. So I'll go to Plan, and then I'll go to the master page. Whatever I do to the master page will be assigned to all pages within the website. So I'll go to the master page, and then I'll go to the library panel, and I'll type in RSM, or responsive side menu, and I want it with icons, so I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website. All right, so there we have the responsive side menu, and I'm just going to style it a little bit. So for the trigger color, we're going to say white. Trigger color on hover, we'll say orange. Trigger selected color, we'll say orange. Text color, we'll say white, or we'll say orange for the text color. Trigger color on hover, we'll say orange. Background color will say white, and menu item hover color will say white, and then the trigger lines will say orange for all of the trigger lines. And I'll showcase this in the website so it makes a little more sense. Okay, so there we have the menu. We've styled the menu. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we have the menu, and so we'll have to style it a little bit more. So the trigger color, we do want to say orange. Okay, so I've styled the colors here, and if I go to File, Preview, I went to Site in Browser, but here we'll go to the menu, and there's the site, and here are the menu items. So that looks great there, and what we want to do on the home page is assign anchor points so that we can link the menu to the anchor points. So I want 3 anchor points, so I'll say 1, 2, 3, and then I'll select the first anchor, I'll call this home. Then the second anchor will be here, and I'll say gallery. And the last anchor, I'll say contact, just like that. And we'll move this up a little bit. Then I'll select all the anchors, and I'll say align to content area and center. Okay, and then I'll go into the master page, I'll go into the responsive side menu. Then for the menu items, I'll say home. And then for the anchor, I'll say home. Then for the second one, I'll say gallery. And for the anchor point, I'll say gallery. Yep, gallery. And the fourth one, or the third one, I'll say contact. And then we'll say contact for the anchor point. The last one, I'll link it to the about page. We haven't made it yet, but I'll create an about page, and I'll say ./about.html, and I'll click enter. Okay, so we've assigned the menu there. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll go to the menu. I'll go to Gallery, brings us to the gallery. I'll go to Contact, doesn't bring us to Contact, so let's see why. Let's go to Plan in here, and we'll go into the widget options. I'll go to Menu Items, and I only want 4 menu items here. So we have Contact and Contact. Okay, so let's try that again. File, Preview Page in Browser, go to the menu, and there we go. Now it goes to the Contact page. All right, and we see it triggered these sections here when we went to the Contact, because Yeah, because it went past the motion here. And we notice that the menu doesn't stay on top, so we'll go back into the master page. We'll go to the layers panel, create a new layer, and we'll bring the menu on layer 2 so that this layer is on top of layer 1. So on the home page, if we go to the layers, we can see that layer 2 is on top of layer 1, and this will ensure that the menu stays on top of the website while it's scrolling. All right, looks good. Okay, so the next part, or the next thing I want to do is add social media icons on top of the menu bar here. So I'll go back to the master page. I'll bring in the Muse Motion 2 widget. So I'll type in MM2. I'll click Add First, just like that, and I'll bring the sequence widget one more time here, the 2D sequence. All right, so there we have the sequence, and I do want to bring in the icons as well. So I'll go create some text. I'll say font awesome, and then I'll go to the glyphs and I'll select some social media icons. So we have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So I'll find the Instagram icon. So we have the Instagram icon. So I'll select it, make it a bit bigger, maybe 36. And then for the color, I'll say white, and then I'll center it. Okay, perfect. And then I'll hit Command-T to copy and Command-V to paste. And I'll place that right in there, and I'll select the Facebook social media icon. All right, so those are social media icons, and then I'll just select it. I'll go to align. We don't want to align to content area, so we'll go to align to selection, distribute vertical centers, and then distribute horizontal centers. Perfect, so there's even spacing for the icons. Then I'll select these icons and I'll pin it to the top right so it stays fixed in the top right. All right, and then I'll assign some graphic style names. So I'll say motion 5. Go to the Facebook, I'll say motion 6. Go to the Twitter, and yep, Twitter here, and I'll say motion 7. All right, so then I'll go into the sequence. Let me bring this one down here. For these ones, I just want it to scale in, and then I want the scale in to be elastic. Okay, and that's that. So then I'll say motion 5 for this one, copy and paste, and I'll say motion 6, paste again, and I'll say motion 7. All right, so there we have the different motions. So if I go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, we do not see the icons, so let me go into the Layers panel and bring this all here to the top, just like that, on layer 2. So File, Preview Page, and Browser. We don't see it yet. Not sure why, so let's see. Sequence, I don't want it to repeat, and I don't want reverse play. Oh, it's because we have to change the instance number here. So we have to change the instance number for each of these. So because we're dealing with the second sequence, and the first sequence has instance number 1. So we'll just change the instance number for the sequence to instance number 2. So I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. And this should work, but it's not. So let's see what's happening here. Scale 0 from, oh yeah, and that's because we have to go into the Layers panel and bring the responsive side menu below the icons. All right, so there it goes. And let's see why the Twitter isn't, oh, we have to change the instance number for the Twitter there as well. All right, so that should do it. So let's go into File, Preview Page, and Browser. There we have the icons. They're a little bit slow, so we'll change the time scale as well. And I just added a B master there, so we'll delete that real quick. So for the time scale, I'll say 3, so it's 3 times as fast. And let me delete this one here. All right, so let's go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. And there we have the icons, the social media icons, and it looks good. All right, so we're almost done with the website. We've added quite a bit. So I'm gonna go back to the master page and just add an orange footer here for the website. So we have a nice footer. I'll go to Resize, Stretch to Browser Width, fill, I'll say orange, and there we have a footer. And I'll go to plan, go in here, and we'll take some of this space off in here. That looks good. I'll create an about page really quick. So I'll say about, and I've just opened up the first website, so I can just copy the content here really quickly, so I don't have to redo the content. Then I'll go to the about page here. I'll say right click, paste in place, bring this down a little bit, and for the browser fill, I'll say orange. All right, so there we have the about page. And now if I go to File, Preview Site in Browser, I go to the menu and I go to About, it brings us to the About page there. All right, and I also want to add the font smoother to the master page so that every page I create will have the font smoother, just like that. So I think I'm nearing the end of this website. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And if you did want to create a mobile version of this website, I'm not going to go over it in this video tutorial because the video will be fairly long. But because most of these widgets are already responsive, as you can see, if I resize the browser, the slideshow here at the top is responsive. We just have to make this not responsive, so we'll say none, so it doesn't change. So let's go back in here. And I'll scroll down. So we just have to change some positioning, but the responsive lightbox gallery is responsive as well. This is somewhat responsive, but what I would do is layer these on top of each other so that they're not so crammed here on smaller devices, and I would move the contact page. Just a few more things I want to do is add the text gallery above the gallery. So I'll change this text to, let's say 36, and the text to orange, and I'll just say gallery. And then I'll add some tracking, just like that. And we'll move everything down a little bit. Okay, and we have gallery. I'll say align to content area, align center, and perfect. And then we want to add contact here for the contact page. Align center. All right, so that looks good. The last thing I'll bring in is the scroll bar speed widget, just to add some nice movement to the website. So I'll go to my library panel and I'll type in scroll bar speed, and I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto the Adobe Muse website. For the scroll speed, I'll say 1 second, which is 1,000 milliseconds, and then I'll say ease out quad for the easing of the scroll bar. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and let's make this a little bit wider. I'll scroll down. We have some nice movement there to the website. All right, looks really good. We have all the elements there. Might bring the gallery down a little bit here, just like so. And I think we've covered everything in this website. So we have the menu, we have the full screen slideshow cover, we have this image here with the other image on top of it, we have the responsive lightbox gallery. And one thing I didn't do here is change the color of the lightbox. So I'll just go into the lightbox background color, change this to orange, the icon color, I'll say orange, arrow color orange, toggle icon orange, and counter text we'll say orange. Looks good. So File, Preview Page in Browser. So I'll go to the lightbox, click here, and there we have it, orange, and looks really good. And the icons are orange as well. All right, and then we have the parallax image here in the background. We have the Muse Motion 2, some audio, and with the sequence, and we have a nice motion sequence there. I can link this to the contact page, so I can just go in here and say link to contact. Preview page in browser. I'll scroll down, and if I click, we go to the contact page. Perfect. All right, and I did want to make this text black, so I'll go to text and change to black. And we have the social media animation here. and perfect. And we can use the contact form and contact. We have the menu here, looks good, and contact, perfect. And we can add something to the footer if we'd like as well down here, and looks good. So I'm not going to go over the mobile version of the site, but if I did want to create a mobile version, I'll just add a breakpoint, and I'll say 320. 320 is for iPhone 5S, and then I just have to kind of place things differently within the mobile site. Because the widgets are already responsive, or most of them are responsive, it'll just be repositioning elements and making sure it looks good on mobile. So I'll go back to the site here and we'll just preview the site one more time, and that'll be it for this photography website. So again, full screen slideshow cover with the logo. We have social media here, image, gallery, perfect. And we have a parallax image in the background, Muse Motion 2 motion with audio, and the contact form here, and the responsive side menu widget, and the about page goes to the about page. And because we placed this on the master page, it goes to it. These logos or these social media icons are on the master page, are on every page as well. So I'll just bring this down a little bit, just like that. Yeah. All right, that looks good there. The social media icons. All right, looks good. So there's creating a photography website from scratch using Adobe Muse and widgets from museforyoushop.com. So I know I went over some of the widgets fairly quickly, but I will leave links in the show more section below to the videos of all the widgets that go over each widget in more detail. So that's it for this video tutorial. If you have any questions about anything I covered, you can leave it in the comment section below. And again, to access these widgets, you simply go to museforyoushop.com. And here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The only widget that's not included in the subscription is the Muse Morph SVG morphing widget, because it is using the Morph SVG plugin technology from GreenSock, which requires a shockingly green GreenSock membership. But the good folks at GreenSock have allowed me to offer it as an individual widget in my shop. It is very advanced morphing. I will be coming out with a Muse Morph Lite, which will be in the subscription, and it will allow for basic SVG morphing. But this here, the Muse Morph here, is more advanced SVG morphing, and it is using the Morph SVG plugin technology from GreenSock. So here are all the widgets. We have the Muse Motion 2, full screen slideshow cover, lightbox gallery widget, parallax image background. We have a few more that we've used. Let's see, responsive side menu. There, and let's see, we have the scroll bar speed widget and the font smoother widget there. All right, so those are the widgets, and if you did want to purchase the widgets individually, you could click on the widget and click add to cart to purchase individually, or again, you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Okay, so that's it for this video tutorial. Again, I do this to help you build awesome websites without code. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the show more section below are links to other resources and links to museforyoushop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.